Why is everyone so angry at work?
Oh, Sarah.
How valuable is a smiley face on an email? It just softens everything.
How do I deal with it at work when I'm not getting validation and I'm not getting that promotion and someone else is getting promoted? And so I just have to go scream into a pillow when I get home?
Do you think people being remote is actually creating more of that anger and tenseness because you don't actually know how well you're doing?
Yeah, because you're communicating via messages. There's no smiley faces.
Yeah,
it's like,
there's no facial expressions.
No, exactly. Come in, you make an impact, and if you don't in the first
you're
month,
gone within 3 months.
You're gone.
Okay, today's topic is, Sarah, please tell us.
Why is everyone so angry at work?
Oh, Sarah.
So who's angry?
Everyone. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening, you're also probably pretty angry. I sometimes am pretty angry. I'm not going to lie.
Is that an evil laugh?
Full stop.
Evil laugh. And then Ruby's probably like, yes, she is really angry all the time. I think my husband will be like, you're really angry all the time. I'm not really angry all the time, but I would say it's very hard, I would say in the last 2 years. And I have some assumptions around this, and people, again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But this article came out from Substack or Patreon.
A guy called Lenny, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. Right. Shout out to Lenny. Yeah. Wait, I thought it was a female.
Oh, was it?
I don't know. I
don't know many females.
But anyway, we should write the full name. But if you really want the article, we can send it to you. Just really reach out because, we got all these new followers. Definitely reach out. Yeah.
But it definitely got us thinking, though, didn't it?
We got us thinking because I read it and then I sent it to Jack and then I sent it to literally all these people, and then all my friends were like, oh my God, this article is like, I resonate with this so much, purely because people are getting more frustrated. Yeah. And when we were reading and talking about it, it was the fact that, okay, people are feeling more undervalued. People are worried about layoffs. So there's more stress. There's like, you're working remote. So there's less of the connection. So you're more frustrated with like, flippant comments when someone says approved, not with a smiley face. They say approved.
Exactly.
Or they say done. And then you're like overthinking
How valuable is a smiley face on an email? It just softens everything.
And then sometimes I try and do it and I don't know, like there's no emoji integration and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to send it.
Yeah.
And then my team are like, oh, you're so much nicer in person. I'm like, of course everyone's nicer in person.
But then
there's no time.
Yeah.
So I think there's like everyone wants recognition. There's like, I think there's this whole circle, and this article again talks about it, which is like the ways that, there's so many different spheres where people are like really stressed at work, really angry, and like actually there are some solutions towards it, and we can talk about maybe how you guys manage your frustration,
like stress, anger. But I would you say you're very angry on a daily basis? I know a lot of people are, but would you say you're very angry on a daily basis?
God, it
depends. I think people wouldn't be like, I'm an angry person.
No one's
it's not that they're angry,
it's
frustrated.
It's literal moments.
Yeah, but I think
it could be an email or a situation.
But we speak to a lot of people, and I think what we can definitely see is that there's a lot of sort of tension. I feel it's not even
it's just brewing, though.
It's brewing. It's being tense. There's a lot going on with, we always circle back to it, but kind of increases in taxes and cost of living. And I think people are tense. So a massive thing that they know that they need to kind of focus on is like revenue and results straight away. So there's no kind of period where you're settling in. There's no settling period anymore.
I know, there's no time.
You come in, you make an impact, and if you don't in the first month,
gone within 3 months.
You're gone. Yeah. Sometimes not even 3 months. So I think
that's tough mentally.
Yeah. And I think it's more of maybe not an anger, but it's a tension. It's a kind of, it's a worry. I need to do everything to keep my role. I need to work super hard to get multiple roles if, people are fractional.
And people probably bring it at home. I think like you can bring it at home. You guys can obviously talk about it if you want as you're a married couple. But you're like,
that's not
sorry. We're never angry.
We're so fine. Anyway.
Well, actually, saying that, we have a rule.
Oh, sorry. I'm not allowed to say that you're married.
No, we're definitely married. So.
You're like, no, we're not. Uh-oh.
But we have a rule. So if anything annoys us, or we have a stress point, we talk about it, and then at the end of the day, so we're at 5, I know it's really simple just saying this.
I love
we
that.
have a rule, so whatever happens, if there's a stress point or a volatile moment where we disagree, it's never volatile or aggressive or anything like that, but like a disagreement, or we're not on the same page.
Sure, Sarah?
We're not on the same page with something, or if something bothers us at work where it, our clients or candidates it causes a reaction.
That's normally the reaction.
When it gets to 5, we have to just lose.
You both are just looking at the
we
clock.
We look at 5, or maybe the
you
day
lose
after,
it. So wait,
or by the morning
at each other, or you just go to a room and scream?
No, as in like we just cut it and don't focus on it.
Don't focus on move on. To
and it's hard.
But that's where the stresses are, because a lot of people have a lot of.
Influence.
But where's your outlet then? Do you like scream into a pillow or something?
No, that's the app. You discuss it.
Talking.
Oh, sorry. I just thought you talked about it.
Yeah. Literally talking.
Like you discuss it. If there's an issue or a problem.
That's nice to have that because you guys work together, but some people don't. So what do?
Well, but don't sort of spouses go home and have those conversations with their spouse, but then you almost...
It's also tough for the other spouse when they're just like, I want to talk about my shit at home.
Yeah.
I have that with my husband and he'll probably hate me talking about this, but we both just like get home and we're like, wah!
I know, yeah.
Then we're like, me first, you first. And then we're just like, okay, we can't get it out.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are trying so many different things and, you know, there's lots of sort of self-help theories, like obviously Let Them theory by Mel Robbins, which is a massive thing as well, where it's kind of
love that book you pushed out.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of just leaving things, moving on, accepting it, and a lot of it is sort of acceptance. But I think why people may be angry or more tense is because we're losing balance.
Yes, correct. I think that's a good one.
And no one's communicating properly. No one has time for proper
I'm like a shocker at it on Slack sometimes because it's so quick to do Slack messages. But I think there's like a big focus around in teams and companies around like, okay, how are people feeling mentally and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's no real talk about the word like anger because it's like it's a big topic. And the moment people start writing articles about it, I was like, oh my God, I read it. And then I said it to my whole family were like, oh my God. Because it's just like, it's such a big thing. But no one, I think when someone says you're aggressive, it's like, oh my God, like that's really... oh my God, I need to go see someone. I've got like an anger problem.
Yeah, it's an issue.
But like actually it's not an anger. I mean, I can't diagnose. I have no idea. It's not an anger problem for some people, maybe sometimes. It's just like, how do I deal with it at work when I'm not getting validation and I'm not getting that promotion and someone else is getting promoted? Then okay, cool. The company knows that I've just not got the promotion. This has happened. So what, I just have to go scream into a pillow when I get home?
Yeah.
Like there should be something, I think, around like we've got to disconnect with people and at home. So what are teams doing? Like what are people doing for teams? Or how are we looking after staff a little bit in that way? It doesn't need to be a huge amount, but it might be at like end of the week. Maybe you just do a recognition for the team. And I know I need to do this more, Ruby, in the team.
Yeah.
And I used to do it, but then all the work comes in. But at least is there a point where you have on Fridays where like people, like I would say, what's your wins and bins? At least we could try and bin and just talk about some of the frustrating stuff. And then we all laughed about it and we kind of like let it air. And I need to bring that back because it was like a funny experience versus like you could still be really angry about this topic for ages. But
that's also a good way to get people involved because I think a big thing that people want to feel is that they're being heard.
Yeah.
And are people experiencing burnout quicker because they don't feel as fulfilled? Because that's the other thing. You want to feel fulfilled at work. What you're doing matters. Your voice matters. And I think that's almost can lead to burnout quicker, where if people feel that there is a disconnect between their value and everyone wants to feel valued. Everyone wants to feel like they have a purpose.
So I think just sharing how you feel in the right way, right?
In the right way. And it has to be... I think it has to be kind of in a good way as well. So it's not just sort of negative, like I hate this, but actually solution based, which I know you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
And kind of focusing on the solutions, which
I'm obsessed with solutions.
And then we do this as well. So
what is a solution?
We can do it with the team as well. So you can either, if we have a point which we're stressed about, or for instance, which is really bothering us, it can either be a soundboard or a solution. So we have to say,
nice.
Before we start, do you want me to actually just listen to you? Or do you actually want a solution? And then sometimes it's just like, I just want you to just listen to
and
me.
that is such an interesting point because some people go, I don't need you to just tell me the answer. You're not listening to me.
Exactly.
And I'm really bad at that. But I think that's such a good point. Is it's a really good question to ask in the team. I'm going to use that.
Because that can start a lot of arguments as well. It's that when people feel that they have to give solutions, and a lot of people say, well, actually, I don't want to give a solution. Yeah, I just want you to listen.
Sounds like we're going to have therapists at work.
Yeah.
Well, kids get it at school. I think we should be getting that.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding. But there's got to be the right way of doing it. Yeah.
We are little kids.
Everyone,
you are, Jack.
No,
you are.
All of us are little kids.
Yeah.
Being adults.
Sure.
We are. We definitely are.
Because it's about emotional like regulation as well.
Yeah.
But I think there's a disconnect between having that balance, feeling fulfilled, and feeling a part of something. Because if you feel a part of something, that you're being heard and that you matter, I think the burnout and the anger is less because you're doing something that's actually making a difference.
Yeah.
So I
agree.
I think a lot of people are angry because of that, because they have less time to turn things around, to make a difference.
You're going to be sharing it with your boss or someone that appreciates you at least.
Exactly. Yeah. And how can people feel less tense if they're always worried about their job, or that they're always worried about someone being over their shoulder. So, how do bosses make people feel more valued? I think that is something that people need to
I think it's just
into.
communication, isn't it? Just making sure.
Oh yeah, I
you're
think
there
communication for
for the
sure.
team.
Yeah. And that can be hard when you're in the day-to-day and you're just trying to get through things, right? It's onto the next thing. You're in the weeds.
I've had that, yeah. I had it recently. I mean, even if I talk about Felix on this call, he'll probably, and not this call, lol, I'm on a Zoom call. But sometimes even when we would get frustrated, we both know, but then we will jump on a call and like we if we didn't address it, it would be going on for like 2-3 weeks, right? This is like where some friends of mine I know just hold a grudge. Even I know some family members of mine that just hold a grudge. And then they just live with it and they just keep going and it gets worse. Whereas like for us, it might be like 24 hours or 20 or 48 hours. And then the moment we get on a call and we have this always check-in on a Monday and a Friday, and sometimes we just say mental health check-in at the end of the week. And we just say,
I like that.
Okay, where are we feeling frustrated? Let's talk about these topics. And we go through, these are the ones that we've always wanted to improve on. And we remind ourselves of the 3 and we talk about it and then we clear the air. And like, that's where we clear anything. At the end of the day, we just don't have time, which I do like yours because you guys are together in the office, but we work remote together. So at least we get to the end of the week. But even that feels like you're getting close to the end of the week. So I think that helps us. And then we feel like a breath of fresh air and it's structured and we are able to share it. So I think you're meant to have that with your boss. And if they don't check in on you, especially when you're remote, don't appreciate you, then you're going to feel undervalued, I think. And like,
but that's the thing. So do you think people being remote is actually creating more of that
definitely
anger and tenseness because you don't actually know how well you're doing?
Yeah, because you're communicating via messages. There's no smiley faces.
Yeah,
it's like,
there's no facial expressions.
No, exactly. There's no.
And some of the messages we send are just like so dry if someone was in them. But like then we call and we're laughing about stuff. But like that's because we're fine. But it's
we get how we communicate.
Yeah,
so it's just literally bum 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 bum.
But then sometimes when you're frustrated at someone, you say one thing, it like sticks onto them. But wait, I wanted to ask, what's like when you've something really bad where you've just gotten so angry and you've been like, I shouldn't have done that?
Early years of management. So
same.
So in the early years of management, I thought to be a boss you had to replicate those before you. So I replicated.
Same, which is so bad.
So I replicated how I was managed.
Awful sometimes back in then.
It wasn't a good way to be managed. It was very angry moments. But when you're starting a business,
it's stressful.
You're just you're working with the money that's coming in and then spending it, and it's literally month to month. So the pressure is there. So it's not necessarily the people around you. It's just the pressure that you put on yourself. That's kind of self-inflicting.
Yeah.
But you learn through those mistakes.
Can you not tell me exactly what happened, or you don't want to show the kid?
No, but there's loads of things.
There's loads.
Yeah.
There's loads of things. And
I'll tell you one.
But there's also... Go on.
Yeah.
No, keep going. I'm so bad at interrupting.
But there's like small and big things. It's just about...
It could be...
As a manager, I got angry initially when I first started out managing because I wasn't able to actually... just manage effectively.
I think just not being able to you're not taught all the time the best way of like managing, which is really hard. I mean,
it's hard.
Mine was like I went into this was not my first hire. I'd hired before, but I'd hired this person. I can't go into too much detail because like then they'll know. But I hired this person without interviewing them, without knowing anything, and it was like,
how did you hire someone without?
Sorry. Yeah. That was such a lie. I interviewed them. I meant I didn't see them in person because virtual and COVID had just started, and I should have met them in person. Okay. Biggest thing ever. Never interview someone without. I mean, you guys would know that. Interview them in person. All that. You guys like, yep, recruitment, of course. Yeah. Idiot Ellie. But I did, and person turns up the first day and just like wild. It's very different to what I expected. And on the first day, like. Oh my God, I don't even know if I'm going to get like sued for this, but they like broke the chair. All this stuff happened. Very like, this is very corporate, serious business. And it was just like, I was like, okay, this might have been maybe a bit of a wrong hire. It's fine. And then I had to eventually let them go and the person just exploded, like proper exploded at me screaming. And I like, actually didn't know how to handle it at the time because it was like my first kind of hire. There was no one really there, and that was more like, oh my God, I actually don't even know how to handle this. And the person came back the next day like thinking they weren't fired, but they obviously were let go from the business and just thinking it was all fine. And I'd never been able to deal with I was never managed properly on how to deal with that person that was really angry and aggressive towards, and there was no like real support in the business either from that after it happened. And I was like, people must have this all the time, because I think you guys would know letting someone go, but doing it in person with someone that's aggressive and angry, it's actually quite confronting for a female on their own.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially if it's a male that's like good. 3 times your size, and you're like,
you have to do it with somebody else.
You have to. But at the time, sometimes companies don't they don't always give you that support.
Yeah.
And so I think that was like the first learning for me is like, yes, always hire in person, have someone there that supports you that if you're unsure about something.
Yeah.
And so you know how to handle it and just check in with
Networking.
other people. But sometimes you don't get that. So it's kind of like I flipped it on its head that the other person was angry, but it was also like how do you deal with it? You should be having someone with you. And you shouldn't have to go through that stuff alone. But it's also kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think what else can like companies do to actually try and reduce that burnout? Because it's just so hard now, isn't it?
Check-ins with those people, at least at the start of the week or the end of the week. I think having a check-in with the team on like, are you feeling supported? And then just I think a general just chit chat of like 30 minutes. We're just going to go with like bins of the week, stuff that make you feel frustrated. And just talk them through.
So I know somebody last week. So one of our clients knew of somebody who handed in the notice and wanted to leave, but all they needed was a conversation and to be heard, because everyone's absolutely manic in this marketing team that
they just want to be heard.
They just want to be heard, and most people just want to be heard,
valued.
Yeah, exactly.
And because everyone's short of time at the moment, because everyone's pressurized, wants to make money.
Yeah,
like. When we get 15 minutes when a meeting's cancelled, I'm like, yes, it's a win.
Yeah.
How good is that feeling when people get a meeting cancelled?
But people aren't dedicating that time to their team. They're dedicating it to the next task or the task which has been put off.
Behind,
So people need to spend more time with their teams at the moment. That's all.
Yeah, but then some teams are like, not another meeting. But I do agree with you. But my team are like, Ellie, not another meeting. And I'm like, okay.
It's getting that.
How are you? Yeah.
It's getting that balance, but being able to cut off as well so that the team can just say, right, I'm just going to cut off now. And not, it's different when you're running your own business. It's 24/7. I don't think you can cut off from that. But I think team members want to make sure they're getting a balance. Yeah. Being valued, getting heard, but having a balance, I think is massive.
And sometimes they don't want to, you don't want it to be forced.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think you've just got to create a space where someone is okay to put a meeting in your diary. And some people go, why'd you put that meeting in my diary? I like it when people put meetings in my diary and like a proactive to say, hey, at the end of the day, I need to chat to you on X, Y, and Z, or I need to catch up. As long as I think just giving them the space to be able to do it. Whereas I think that's which is like incorporating more of a flat structure versus hierarchy and stuff where people can ask questions should hopefully help.
I know somebody else who I spoke to this week and they're getting angry, a leader, because the business owner isn't paying attention to them.
See, that
might not be the right business for them.
So not getting back on emails or calls. So.
That's frustrating.
That's awful.
Yeah, if that's your manager and stuff.
I mean, it's not the right business for you.
Everything comes down to communications. That's why people are angry or a bit peeved. It's just communication.
Yeah.
It's
get on a podcast, sit on it for an hour.
But that's all relationships, isn't it? Personal, professional.
Exactly.
Communication. Focus on your communication style.
But some people are not good communicators. Yeah. How do you do that? Some people are afraid of it.
Just write it down.
Self-help.
And just get a notepad.
Get a notepad or try and do.
But books help as well, like self-help, self-regulating.
I'm not a big one on self-help books.
No,
that's the thing, because I'm more about like learning through failure and going through it.
Jeepers, that's intense.
But you have to. Though.
No, I agree.
You have to do that.
I said that angrily again, but it is true though, isn't it? So, but self-help books do help people.
I think people haven't been taught
I just can't read them after work.
I know, but I think people we haven't been taught how to regulate emotions effectively, especially of certain generations. So it's going back to the beginning and learning.
Certain generations are better at doing it.
The younger generations are better.
Yeah.
100%.
I think there'll be more in future. Obviously this community thing is happening, but we've learned so much by having conversations with people at this podcast. I'm sure people do. More than I've ever with sometimes reading stuff because my brain is so dead at the end of the day. There'll be stuff where you've got the DLC, right, where everyone just shares stuff. I think people will be more about their frustrations. You know, people in the group will share, and obviously those who aren't in the group, I'm so sorry, but exclusive. But they share, the biggest fails sometimes, and it just makes everyone laugh so much. Personally, when you're just sitting at your desk alone in a senior role and you just see someone's told their story and you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, because you're thank God I can relate. I'm not alone. There's someone else who's gone through it.
There needs to be more. I think there'll be more around those communities of just laughter and stuff and people doing them in person. You go to events and you people are trying to really create small events that are just becoming friends in the same workforce.
Yes, 100%.
Because it's hard at the senior level, as everyone says.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, is that me to leave? Yeah, I think that might be the end of our
podcast.
The end.
But yeah, that was a nice session. Anyone? That was wrapping it up.
No, it's good. Yeah. So follow, subscribe,
and we'll be here next time. And this is the end of Manchester.
Solutions. Yes, DC on the road.
DC on the road. We sound so tired.